Ooh.
We are live. Welcome to the Bradbury Challenge, the podcast where three writers attempt to write one short story each week. My name is Maya Good, and I am here with Gerald Hornsby and Chrissy Moss. How are you guys doing this week?
Hello.
Hi.
All right.
How did your writing go? Did you guys write a story? Did you finish a story? Did you struggle?
So I've been working on editing and polishing the mirror story that I wrote, like the second week we did this, so that I can publish it next week. And
that's good.
Yeah, I need to publish something.
Yeah. That's one of the benefits of short stories is while you're waiting for your novel, you can be publishing those and keeping your readers happy. Mm-hmm. I know that that's definitely on my mind as I've decided that I'm definitely sending my novels out to agents for traditional publication rather than indie. And so suddenly short stories have become way more important because this book has been 2 years coming already, and I have people that want to read it, so I need to make them happy while we wait, because it may take years, and we wait and we wait and we wait and we wait some more.
Give us something.
Exactly. And it's also good because the feedback helps me become a better writer. I know a lot of writers don't read their reviews, but I definitely do. I feel like I'm a young enough writer that extra little bit of feedback really makes a difference for me. It lets me know if I'm on the right track or not. How are you doing, Gerald?
Yeah, I'm doing. I haven't written this week. I had an idea. I started, but then because it's sci-fi and it's about multiverses and the power of a person to do things. I suddenly realised that I didn't know anywhere near enough about this stuff. So it's stupid, really, because I got.
So not only did you decide to write sci-fi, but you didn't write this week.
No.
Is this the first time that Gerald hasn't written this week, Chrissy?
I think so, unless you count like half of his vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a momentous occasion.
Well, I wrote some of my novel this week, so I did done that, but no, short stories are a bit in short supply this week.
Well, I wrote and finished a short story.
Wow.
And I know, we're in the opposite sides, aren't we? I felt really inspired this week, surrounded by so many creative people. It just really helped me get the juices going. And I told you last week that I could feel that creativity coming back. It's not a perfect story, but the language, I feel like I didn't come away from writing stories. Come away from writing it wondering where all the words were. Yeah, this time I was like, okay, I know where the words are. And I feel like this story is a nice base to work with. And I've already gone through one revision, and I'm going to go through another in a few days.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at. Yeah, I've had a rough time of it for the last few weeks. So it was a huge weight off my shoulder. And it's like, oh, the words are still there. I guess I still can write. I didn't use up all of my thoughts and ideas.
Because it can get a bit like that. It kind of when you haven't written for a while and you just think, you know what, writing.
Maybe that's all I had.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe I'm broken.
I have these ideas, but they just aren't working. It sounds horrible, and now what do I do? Why did you just...
Do you see this? Do you see this?
Have you not been recording?
Hard full.
Uh-oh.
You've got to be freaking kidding me. 1 second. I've got to delete something so that I can keep recording. I can't believe that. Oh my goodness. Like right as we're in the middle of recording. I hope I didn't lose a whole lot.
Yeah, it's bad it doesn't give you an early warning or something.
Yeah, it would be really nice if it did that.
Yeah.
If it was like, hey, you've only got this much left. Okay, I can delete this one. Yeah, exactly. That would be really, really nice.
And useful. Handy.
to delete that. And then I will continue recording, and I guess I'll just have to splice in some of the YouTube audio. I can't believe it did that to me. That was very annoying.
Naughty recorder.
I know. Bad recorder. Okay. So where were we before my recorder so rudely interrupted us?
We were talking about when we run out of words and we think we can't write anymore and we're broken. I know.
Well, there are those writers who only have a couple stories in them, and then they've written them, and then they're just done. And I think in the back of my head, like, I'm afraid that, like, I was done. And then this story came, I was like, oh, thank goodness, I'm not done. Definite relief.
I never run out of stories. I sometimes run out of motivation. I sometimes think if I haven't written for a week or a couple of weeks or something, and then I just think, I can't be bothered. But which is why challenges and things like NaNoWriMo and stuff like that is good for me, because it kicks me in the butt and gets me talking.
I find it interesting that you're wanting to write some science fiction. Where did this come from?
Oh, I've had an interest. I used to read a lot of science fiction when I was a wee youth, and
glad to come out of your mouth.
Yeah, a long time ago, and so yeah, I'm kind of interested in it. Kind of interested in sort of. I don't know. You might not have heard of this, but one of the things I read that really had an effect on me was called the Classic Lensman series by A. Doc Smith or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were these people who, it was set in the future, and these people who were very, very clever people, very clever brains, were telepathic. And so a male and a female telepath got together and created children who were like super telepathic and telekinetic. And so it's grounded in sort of human experience, but it sort of pushes the boundaries a little bit. And that's what I was trying to do. And I was going to have some person that was able to switch between different universes. But then I was trying to sort of find out how you do that.
Well, especially because you're used to writing really short stories, and I think science fiction short stories tend to lend themselves to slightly longer length. I've read very few really good science fiction short stories that were under 5,000 words. Have you, Chrissy?
Really good short stories? Yeah.
Good short science fiction stories that are under 5,000 words.
I've read a few. I've written a few. I hope they're good, because there are like 4 or 5 science fiction short stories that are in my collection that are under or around 2,000 words. So.
Yeah. I was thinking of making it, into the thousands. But yeah.
The thing about science fiction is that it's like most genres. If you have the basic building blocks, you can build off of other people's work. So I was writing about robots in one, and so if you know about robots and stuff, you probably are going to understand the language and stuff. You
don't have to like explain everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of assumed knowledge.
Exactly. I mean, and so I build off of, if you've watched Terminator or any other classic science fiction movie about robots, you probably understand these little bits of information. And that seemed to be enough. With a multiverse, you might look into more modern movies like Interstellar and even Sliders or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it would also be good to look at the last few Hugo Award winners and see how they did world building in such a short space. because I think the Hugos are all shorts. I mean, they've got like different categories, but most of the Hugo Awards are short stories, I think. And that might help figure out, like, how do you world build when you're only writing 30 pages?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not out to build a world. I'm not out to. It's really, I suppose you might call it human interest with a sci-fi twist or something. So it's not pure sci-fi. It's not all about the sci-fi.
I think most of the best sci-fi that I've read are always about the people. I mean, even they watch Stranger Things, and it sucked me in because of the kids, the people. And I mean, the world building, I mean, there was some, but that's not what drew me in at all. Now, that might be because I don't normally, like, I tend to be more character based in my reading, but if I've read, it's always about the people.
I think that in a lot of science fiction shorter stories, the world is much like our world with one small difference. And that difference is what makes it science fiction.
Yeah. That's what
I think it's interesting that this is coming up for you.
Yeah, I think it's I wanted it based in a sort of a reality that people would recognize, even if it's based a little in the future, but then obviously push the boundaries of the sci-fi and the human experience. Oh God, I'm sounding like a MFA writer or something, aren't I?
It happens after this many podcasts.
Oh God, shoot me now.
I mean, the whole network kind of is like an intense MFA late program.
So I was just playing with that. So I had this sort of idea, and then it came to a stop when I thought, how's this going to work? So so I started doing some research and got totally waylaid by the research, which was fine.
That happens. Don't do research. Don't. Research during the revision. That's my motto. Whenever I come up to something, I'm like, oh, I need to research how to do this. I'm like, no. Write the rough draft. Write what's in your head and in your heart. Then do the research to figure out what you did wrong. Then fix it.
I've always thought that the beauty about science fiction and fantasy was that if I didn't know something, I could make it up.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like some like traveling between planes or something. There are 100,000 different ways in different books and series with people traveling between different planes.
See, and knowing me, I would choose to find a quantum physicist.
Yeah, that's overdoing it.
The most realistic way in 10 years.
So they might tell you it's going to take a lot more energy, and so you're going to need a lot of energy. And so I thought Interstellar was beautiful the way they did it, because they were actually using the energy of a black hole, which that's a lot of energy.
Yeah, that is. For me, I've been having some genre fiction like creeping into my brain, just being in New Orleans. People talk about things here, talk about in other places, more open to like exploring like what in other towns would be considered weird. And I've had conversations here, and I've got like these thoughts going through my head of like, this would make a really good story. And then I'm like, no, that would end up being a book. You have enough books.
I had that.
You don't need to globalization of magic. It just doesn't need to happen. No.
Yeah, you do, because those are my favorite series.
You have enough
globalization of magic
over here. No, enough books. I have enough books here to talk. Just walking out street, I just had all these visions of like a new voodoo priestess who's like modern, and she's decided that the world is messed up, and she's gonna learn all the magic of all the different things and like create like.
And then you'd go researching it all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In my head, I've got like a union, a globalized union of magicians whose goal is to take down the new world order. And I'm like, no, Maya, no.
That's a
no.
Okay. So last night I was trying to go to sleep for the 1 hour I got to sleep before I had to take my daughter to the airport this morning. And I decided that I had to write down another idea I had for another 6-story novel arc.
6 stories.
Why do they breed?
Yeah.
Crikey.
They breed.
They breed.
I'm sorry.
And so I wrote it down. It's like I probably put down a couple hundred words, which means I actually wrote something yesterday. So that's good. And I had to get it out of my. It's one of those things where if I'm going to fall asleep, I have to get this out of my head.
Yeah. But then once you get it out of your head, you feel like you need to do something with it.
No, I have another story that I'm finishing, but now it's out of my head, and I can maybe come back to it later.
Really? Oh yeah, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work, which is why I am not writing this down. Because this does not need to happen.
See, it works for me because I do have so many projects that I have started over the years that I have, when I first started back in 2012, actually finishing work so that I could publish it. The first lesson I had to learn was figuring out which ones are most important and coming through with a priority list. And once
so how do you decide which story takes priority?
The first thing I do is I go through and I say, okay, these ones are the most finished of them, the most complete ideas, and this is a whole list of them. So on my I have an actual master list of all of my stories, or of all of the ones that I think I can complete because they are the most well fleshed ideas, and that itself is a couple hundred long. And then,
so is it in an Excel spreadsheet? Did you?
It is. I love Excel.
How did I know? How did freaks?
It's really awesome because I have them color coded where the ones that are finished are blue so that I can add up to how many words I've actually published, and then I have the ones that are plotted, and I have the ones that it's awesome. I love my spreadsheet. But anyway,
and if you have a genre column, you can sort them by genre or sort them by how many words you've written, or you can spend hours.
See, Gerald knows.
Yeah.
Color coded too, Gerald.
Excel spreadsheets, they're addicting.
Yeah.
For everybody except for me. I do not have an Excel spreadsheet. I don't. Why, thank you. That makes me feel special. I tend to keep my ideas in my head.
Okay.
And then that won't leave me alone. That after I ignore it for months and months and months, it's still bugging me. That's the one I write next.
See, if I leave it in my head, it just keeps bugging me.
Yeah.
And I also have that feeling that I don't want to lose it. So if I write it
down, I feel like if I lose it, then it was meant to be lost. It probably wasn't a good idea. I feel like if I'm keeping all these bad ideas because I'm afraid to lose them, then they don't fall away naturally, revealing the better idea.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, this is my foo-foo hippie version of your all spreadsheet.
Someone should do a spreadsheet thing. It's all sort of, you can't type any numbers in it because they don't matter. And it's just
it's funny.
Like an artist spreadsheet, like it makes no sense. There's like no
everything's colors.
There's no numbers. The numbers are pictures.
Oh yeah.
So how many words did you write this week? A banana and a couple cherries. What? There's no numbers on my spreadsheet. There's just fruit.
That's funny.
Based spreadsheet.
Does that mean you are a fruit?
Oh, probably. I'm just a nutty girl. What can I say? So, Gerald, are you going to tell us what this idea is about? Like, you gave us an idea of like the world, but is there a story about people in there?
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't like people.
People. No, I like writing about people because
Hey,
they're in a box, and I don't have to actually
futuristic
meet
donkeys.
People just make the story bad, you know.
They just divert.
I'm sorry. I'm a little punch
First
drunk
you
this
have
morning.
8,000
I'm
words
really
in
tired.
Yeah. So
Usually
My sarcasm comes
Steve is
out.
punch drunk on this show.
Yeah.
Today it's Chrissy.
So yeah, so it's just this person is discovers that they have the ability to change between different universes. It comes on as a surprise to them, but then they gradually realize what it is, and nobody believes them, and and there's going to be a little sort of twist in the tails sort of thing at the end. So that's about as far as I've got, and I just thought it sounds like fun and a challenge.
You realize this isn't going to be a short story, right?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's kind of obvious. This isn't a short story.
Yeah.
I mean, you can try, but I don't see how you're going to put all that in a short story.
No. Some stories
And
want to be
Gerald's
longer.
now working on 3 novels.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, let's write
Yeah,
one
tell me about it.
novel so that I have a novel on my Amazon list. Now that I'm a trilogy in, actually that trilogy is going very well. I love watching my KU reads go up and up and up.
That's pretty awesome, and I'm really, really happy for you. So my story this week definitely is going to fall within my current series of children.
That's good.
Different.
Mm-hmm.
Think of anything to write. And one thing I found, oddly enough, is I love Scrivener. I love working in Scrivener. But when I really have no idea what to write, Scrivener hinders me. Even just opening up a new file, if I don't know the name of the story and I don't know what I'm writing. And sometimes I will use Word to free write. Yeah.
I mean, it's
so
not
that's
a horrible thing.
Blasphemy! Bitch works.
You do know that you can open up your Scrivener to a blank page and just have that one blank page on your screen and nothing else, right?
Yes, but I still have to have a file. And in order to have a file, I have to have a name. And all my names are the names of the stories. This is the problem. No, it's like a mental block. So I had no idea what to write. And I opened up Word and I free wrote. And then when I knew what I was writing, I took what I free wrote and put it in Scrivener and finished what I was writing.
For my short story collections, because this does seem like a short story collections, I just have them all in one Scrivener file.
Yeah. Yeah, I have each one separate just because it's easier for me to edit, and when I send it to my editor and everything, just everything's easier that way. It's just how I work, but that's what happened for me.
I had to do that because I was getting like 15,000 different Scrivener files, and that wasn't working for me.
Yeah, I'm fine with my 15,000 files, but because I don't know as prolific as you. So that makes it a little easier. So I knew that I wanted to write a story about a young girl who is really, really close friends with an old woman. And I wasn't sure what I wanted. I wasn't sure like the arc, the story, who this girl was, none of it. And so I sat down and I free wrote. In the beginning of the story, definitely, now that I know the characters, I need to go back and rewrite the whole first half of the story. Because I didn't know who the characters were yet. And I've got this story about a young girl who, whenever her parents are fighting, she climbs through the window of a neighbor who's 2 stories up. She goes on the fire escape and she climbs up. And the old lady lets her in and makes her cookies and ice cream and they play cards. Like that's what this little girl does with this old lady. And the little girl's being abused and the old lady turns in the family. The little girl goes to her. And instead of holding on to her mom saying, I don't want to leave you. She's holding on to the neighbor lady. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. And the old lady's, it's like, I don't know if you're going to see me again, because she won't lie to her.
Right.
And then you fast forward, and the old lady's in a nursing home, and this beautiful young lady appears to visit, and she's bringing her cookies and cards, and it's the young girl as an adult visiting the old lady. And it's just, I love the story. I love the story. It's so freaking
so
sentimental,
sweet.
Isn't it, Gerald?
That's
It's
good.
so sentimental and
I
sappy.
was
Oh,
afraid
yes.
you're gonna have her like showing up at the gravesite or something. That would have been so
No,
sad.
no. It's like Lifetime movie sappy.
You made a Lifetime movie sappy one in your bunch of sad and kind of depressing.
But I love that, because, it's just this friendship. And at first the old lady's taking care of the young girl, and now it's taking care of the old lady. And it's just beautiful. So I'm going to rewrite the whole first half of the story, work on the residents, work on symmetry. The next story that goes out to end up being 3 times as long as it is. But just opening up a page and no idea really, really helped me just open up the blocks and just get writing and see what was in me. And I was very surprised that that's what came out, because I wasn't expecting it.
Right. That's wonderful. I'm glad you're starting to feel confident in your writing again, or confident.
And competent. It's nice to read a sentence and be like, oh, those are nice words, and they're in the right order. For a while there, I wasn't even getting that.
That's funny.
It's like, these are all the wrong words, and they're all in the wrong order.
I always love that, don't you?
Totally. Oh, and it looks like Chrissy's going to have to leave soon. So, Chrissy, did you want to read?
Not this morning. I'm awake.
Not this morning.
Just awake.
And Gerald?
Got nothing to read. So it's all down to you.
It's all down to me. Okay. Well, I'm going to read 2 weeks in a row. Go figure. How often does that happen? I know. Like, never. Here we go. Let me open this up. I'm just going to read a short bit from the beginning that I free wrote. And to let people hear, free writing does not sound great. And it's okay. But it leads somewhere eventually.
Good idea.
I'm glad you understand this, Maya.
Okay, here we go. Nina's feet scrambled out the black window to escape the screaming. Her body moved along the 5 floors until she was staring in a window filled with broken glass sculptures and dolls dressed in an array of yarn. The room was dark save for one lamp that cast a glow over an old recliner. She knocked, and the old woman peeked out from the kitchen. The woman's smile moved her wrinkles across her face like waves on water leaving a spot of calm. She shuffled to the window and opened it with a great squeak. Nina's feet found the empty places between the precious moments and plastics, and then dropped to the soft rug with a thud. I made cookies, the old woman said. Do you want some, sweetheart? Nina imagined Sarah must be an old witch, because only witches eat cookies and sweets all the time, and Sarah always had cookies. Followed the woman shuffling into the kitchen and sat at the table barely big enough for the 2 tiny frames until a glass of milk and a huge plate of cookies appeared. Sarah's own children had long passed, one during the war, which one Nina wasn't sure, and the other one she was no bigger than Nina. Black and white photos of smiling faces that culminated in a big photo of a young man in uniform. Nina liked to stare at the handsome man while she filled her mouth with chocolate chips and oatmeal. Jimmy wasn't big enough for the climb to Sarah's apartment, but Nina always brought back cookies for her brother on nights like this. From 2 floors down entered the room like fists, and Sarah frowned. Then she closed the windows one after another with a sigh. She said nothing and just stared at Nina with soft eyes. Did you get your grades yet? She said. Nina's smile spread across her face, and she sat taller. Yeah, I got all A's. Well, isn't that excellent, Sarah said, reaching across the table to ruffle her dark hair. I'm so proud of you. My teacher said I did fractions the best in class. Sarah clapped. I think this calls for my special peanut butter ball. She scampered to the shelves and began pulling powdered sugar and condensed milk from the shelves. Miss DePaul asked how I learned them so good, but I didn't tell her about the cards.
Very
There
good.
you go. It's really just
That's
like,
good.
it's just sweet and delicate and so not my normal tone at all.
I like it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love this her finding the places between the memories and the plastic baubles. That's a
Yeah.
great imagery.
I'm just picturing like this old woman's window that's just full of dolls and knickknacks and
Yeah.
doilies.
Wow. Yeah.
We've all seen that lady.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I think I am that lady.
This is your future. 50 million cats and a gazillion doilies.
No cats. No cats.
Yeah.
I have one, and some days I love her, and some days I'm like, you just need to leave.
So just the doilies. Okay, just the doilies. Okay, well, on that note, we should let you go. So I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for following the Bradbury Challenge. If you would like to see all of our shows, please visit www.literaryroadhouse.com. Ciao.